you, Bala. Mr. Vishwanathan and my dear friend Dr. K.V. Subramaniam, the Chief Economic Advisor of Subbu, as we affectionately call him. Welcome to this very important milestone of the industrial economist journey. I believe, Subbu, this is the 53rd year. And when Mr. S. Vishwanathan, being the visionary he is, actually started this in 1968, saying that there is no voice of the South Indian economy which is heard. It was many people might have even believed that there wasn't a voice to be heard, but he heard the voice, even if it was a whisper, and amplified it. And today, of course, such a statement that the South Indian economy has to be heard would say, yeah, but isn't South India the economy in many cases, right? So in a lighter way of speaking, so I think I want to again say how delighted I am to be here to celebrate this institution of Chennai. I celebrate Mr. Vishwanathan as a pioneer whose heart beats for Chennai while his mind and intellect beat for India. I think such a wonderful combination to have a person like him. Thank you, Mr. Vishwanathan. Thank you for calling all of us and assembling us to celebrate as much as we celebrate you and we celebrate the spirit of Chennai. And all of us have in some way links to it. So thank you very much. I also know that I had to be very careful because Subbu and my wife grew up in the same city of Bhilai. So I'm always also very respectful of Bhilai every time I speak about it. So to be safe. So I just wanted to say a few words about about Subbu, which I wanted to actually say to him 2 weeks ago, and I didn't get the opportunity for some other reason. Again, there was a timing glitch on a video seminar that time also. While we're going to talk about privatization, we're going to talk about monetization, the land assets and so on, which I think are very well documented, and he will speak about it. I have two things to only say. First is I've had the privilege of knowing Subbu as a friend much before we started as chief economic advisor. We co-worked in the SEBI committee, which is where we met. And his ideas in the SEBI committee have now become rules of India. And India had breakthrough rules in terms of benchmarking performance of private equity funds, only thanks to the ideas that he and all of us put together, germinated, and now made into actual regulation. So that's how I got to know him. I have always read his economic surveys with great interest once he became chief economic advisor, partly because he was a friend, but mostly because I enjoyed reading them. And when I think of him, I think of three things. The first thing I think of is thought leadership. Whether it is Atmanirbhar Bharat as an idea, whether it's $5 trillion economy, whether it is Bad Bank, these were all ideas that actually came in economic surveys much before the government used them as policy language and policy grammar. So we know where the ideas germinate. And Subbu's thought leadership, not only because he's very brilliant in terms of being an academic, but I think very importantly because his heart beats for India. When that intellectual power and that love for India intertwine, only then these thoughts come. After all, these thoughts could have come to him as an employee of Goldman Sachs, as being the gold medalist and the winner of the best economic thesis prize for PhD in America. I suspect there were 20 recruiters standing at his door, figuratively speaking. And yet he said, no, not for me. For me, it's India. This thought leadership always is amazing. The second thing I find about his ability to put things across to the common man. And by the common man, I mean all of us, right? All this phraseology about bilateral netting and this and that, as somebody put it very recently, after a long time of derivatives and short trades and game stops, I'm so happy to have a simple problem like a ship blocking the Suez Canal. All of us understand that problem of the ship blocking the Suez Canal, right? So in that spirit, Subbu has an ability to use his intellect to simplify things. And I wouldn't say dumb down, I would say simplify. And I think there's a big difference between the two. For example, when he's talked about Thalinomics, and basically it's something all of us can understand, that if we can have an equivalent of a simple thing everybody understands as an idea of inflation, how simple it is that people can actually follow that arena. The third thing I strikes him is Adam Smith talked about an invisible hand. Actually, Subbu bought an invisible pair of hands. One hand was the market's ruthless animal-like instinct, which is Adam Smith's hand. And Subbu's hand was basically the hand of trust, which he calls ethical wealth creation. So when two hands clap, we can hear. When just the vicious hand of economics, which is, of course, what it is, and we all participate, we love it also. But the two-hand clapping formula, when the ethical wealth creation comes together with the economic hand of invisible hand of Adam Smith, then I think you have the Bharatiya hand. So that is something I always liked about the way he thought about it. And of course, on a lighter side, I think all of us know that people binge watch Netflix, but I've never imagined that there can be a binge reading of an economic survey, which is a feature that has come after Subbu's way of writing it. I'm sure that is something that all of us remember. So Subbu, without further ado, and my thoughts on anything, I would just like to say, I have a lot of respect and affection for you as well. And I'm glad that you're here today. The only one request, if I may add to the things that Mr. Vishwanathan has talked about on privatization is, as we discussed this in your office recently, I think one of the things you alluded to in that conversation is about the move to include Government of India bonds in the global indices, which is you flagged that as a benchmark. And I've been thinking about it ever since that time. So I'd be very keen to hear from you your comments on the elasticity of savings to growth more than investment, because we had this graph about savings to growth correcting, but in Q2 I noticed RBI talking about a slide to 10% in terms of household savings, whatever that means. I read it somewhere, so I don't have control over what it means, but I read it somewhere. So what are the interconnectedness of these ideas? And especially as you talked about, inflation is growing on one hand, liquidity is plenty with low yields on one hand, and growth is also available on one hand. So when the triad, and I noticed 2 days ago, Ashwath Damodaran in his blog had also talked about these three things coming together and what it means for capital asset pricing. So love to hear your thoughts on that in case there is time today. But without further ado, over to Dr. K.V. Subramaniam, Chief Economic Advisor.